Merry Christmas, Pascal, on the penultimate of the Wheel of Christmas experience. In this, we will be discussing the Towers of Midnight. Now, sadly, Robert Jordan had passed away at this point, and Brandon Sanderson takes over as writer. As a result, things do happen. Not a lot, but some. Perrin gets captured. Everybody gets captured at some point. I believe all characters have it as a writer in their contract. They must be captured at least once. He gets captured by the Children of Light, who put him on trial for killing some of them, which he has actually done at some point in the past. So this is a case where a character who actually does something later has to pay the price for the egregious sin of doing a thing. He reveals to everyone that he can talk to wolves, which is impressive to no one at all. The commander of the White Cloaks is just about ready to pronounce the sentence, and Perrin says he won't abide by the sentence until after the final battle. And the commander of the White Cloak also realizes that if he says the sentence, something will have to happen, and we can't let that come to pass. So he says, "Oh, I'm not going to pass the sentence yet." So this is all hanging over our heads because we didn't have quite enough things hanging over our heads yet. Some baddies form a plan to kill Perrin by sticking this powerful magic item that will interfere with his ability to use magic and travel through the magical world. But if they're so close to him that they can do this, I wonder why they don't just shank him. But they decide, no, I'm not going to shank him. I'm going to set him up for other people to do the work. Much like with the Aes Sedai and the preventing them from using magic thing, I feel like they were making it needlessly complicated. But at any rate, the plan does not work, shockingly, and he escapes to Tar-Valon, but with an army of baddies and a Forsaken named Isam on his tail. So Egwene is, she's all like, in another part of the world, she's all like, oh, this warder guy, he's naughty, and he doesn't do what I tell him to, he's disobedient, so I won't bond with him. But then she has this bright idea to stage a meeting between the Aes Sedai and the wise women of the Aiel and the something or another of the sea people, basically all the magic ladies, in the magical world of Tel-Aran Riyadh, or I should say Tel-Aran Riyadh, which is super important because it has 2 apostrophes, and as we know, importance in Robert Jordan books is denoted by apostrophes. So this plan actually works to some extent in that the baddies do turn up in Tel-Aran Riyadh, and they use the magic item that they were going to use on Perrin to capture the baddies in Tel-Aran Riyadh, and they have this huge-ass fight where it works badly for the baddies. So for once, the plan actually worked. And so Egwene wakes up in the real world, and unbeknownst to her, they've also attacked her in the real world, and the naughty warder has saved her life. So now that he's saved her life, I think there's some weird, twisted part of Robert Jordan / Brandon Sanderson's psyche says that a woman can't love a man until she saves a life. Because now she's like, oh, he's alright, and she agrees to bond with him, and also agrees to marry him. I'm glad that I didn't have to do that for you, okay? So, Perrin is also involved in the super big fight in the magical world, and he fights with Isam the Forsaken, who kills Perrin's wolf buddy Hopper. And now Hopper can never be reborn, which I guess was Hopper's only dream, was to be born again as a real boy or wolf. Which totally sucks, because when something finally happens and a character dies, it's the fucking dog, okay? Like, you couldn't kill any one of the irritating humans that's been blathering on to ad nauseum for thousands and thousands of pages. No, it's the one character everyone likes, the wolf. That guy, he's dead. So Perrin wakes up, or Karen kills Isam in retaliation, and he wakes up and he says, I need a magic item, and it has to be a hammer. So he does that. He builds that. I don't know why, but there it is. And there were some good guys that have been arguing with each other for several books, suddenly now decide that they are okay with each other because it turns out there wasn't enough evidence in all those previous books. So I feel like this is the hand of Brandon Sanderson just going, no, we gotta resolve this. So now Perrin and Dane Bornhald are allies. And Matt Cawthon makes friends with the Queen Elaine of Andor, and there's a whole long sequence of events, but none of it affects anything, so we're just gonna skip it. The only important upshot is that Andor and Carhane ally together and unite under the Andorran throne. So that's, you know, that's a major political shift. They also rescue Moiraine, and she's been like captured for 3 books now. So I mean, she's not even in this Wheel of Christmas thing because she predates all of the parts. So you probably read actually her story. And so they have to do on this big quest to save Moiraine, which, like, why did it take them 3 books to do it? But whatever, it did. They go on the quest, a whole bunch of stuff happens, and the only lasting output is that Bran loses one of his eyes. Rand, not Bran. Rand loses one of his eyes. And he goes to the White Tower afterwards, and he says, I've seen the light, I can laugh now. That's big. And he says to them, okay, I'm going to break all the seals on the Dark One's prison and release him so that I can put him in a better prison that will last longer. And everybody but Rand thinks this is a terrible idea. But none of them point out that everything Rand has ever tried to do, he's failed at. So, like, no one says, Rand, you suck. You're incompetent. You may be the Dragon Reborn, but the dragon was a chump, and you're just a pale shadow of a chump. No one says that. They probably should have. So he goes off to do the thing. And he tells them all to meet at the Fields of Merilor. And we know the Fields of Merilor are not important because there are no apostrophes. And all the people, like all the Shan-Shan, the Aiel, the Aes Sedai, like everyone, the warders, you name it, they're all going to meet at the Fields of Merilor. But just to, like, hang out with Rand, nobody foresees that maybe this is the final battle, right? Like, everyone's all in one place. Finally, fucking finally! After how many thousands of pages, they're all in one place. And lastly, the only other important thing to happen, and I'm not even sure why this is a surprise, but the people in the Black Tower, as opposed to the White Tower, the Black Tower are inexplicably turning to evil. This is a shock to everybody but everyone who heard the term Black Tower and thought, well, that's ominous. But anyway, so that's the last thing that happens in the book, but, you know, there it is. And now we're going to be on to the last book at the end of the Christmas marathon.